Morris Garages, or MG. It's a brand that entered India in 2019 with a car called the Hector. Now, however you feel about that car, there's one thing you can't deny: it made a huge impact on our market and was disruptive in a number of ways. Now, this is the second car they're going to be launching in India, and it promises to be even more disruptive because it's an electric vehicle. That's right, this is the MG ZS EV, and I'm going to drive it for you today. Before we go any further, be sure to like, subscribe and click the bell icon to stay updated. And tell us in the comments what you think of the MG ZS EV. Would you choose it over the Hyundai Kona Electric and the upcoming Nexon EV? Now, as you may know, Shapur got an early chance to drive the ZS EV a few months ago, and in case you haven't already, do check that out on our YouTube channel. So what I'm going to do on this second drive is highlight a few interesting things about this electric crossover, starting with the way it looks. As I'm sure you've noticed already, the ZS EV looks very different from the Hector. And that's not just to do with the actual size of this car, which of course is a whole lot smaller. It's about the size of a Hyundai Creta for your reference. It's also the shape. It's far more crossover-like with smoother, rounder lines. Another interesting point is that even though this car is so much smaller than the Hector, they both use 17-inch alloy wheels. So the proportions here are just that little bit better. The interior is well finished. Interior quality in this car seems to be a significant step up from the Hector, and that's not just to do with the amount of soft touch material liberally strewn around the cabin. It's also because this car seems to borrow a lot of stuff from the Volkswagen Group. Now, that makes sense because Volkswagen Group and MG are partners in China. So that AC vent, well, it's straight out of an Audi A3, as are the dials. These buttons on the steering wheel seem to be from a Jetta, as are the window switches. It's all really high quality stuff and fits well with this car's positioning. There's also some really cool details like this knurled gear selector that reminds you a lot of a Jaguar, and this little sliding door opening for the cup holders. The touchscreen is much better. A big talking point with the MG Hector was its huge portrait-oriented 10.4-inch touchscreen system. Now that obviously is not here. There's a more conventional landscape-oriented 8-inch touchscreen. What's interesting though is that it's been upgraded to what MG calls the new iSmart 2.0 operating system, and the hardware is a lot better too. It's got 3 GB of RAM and a 6-core processor, and the effect of that is plain to see. It's a whole lot smoother and everything operates a whole lot quicker. There are also some EV specific features like, of course, your charging state and how much CO2 you've saved by driving this car. There are even the voice commands as before, but with some EV specific flourishes. For example, hello MG.
I'm listening.
Charging station.
I found more than one charging pile. Which one would you like to pick?
2.
Line 2. Okay, getting directions to up Noida, Uttar Pradesh. You will arrive at your destination at 11:04 a.m.
And there you go, we're navigating to the nearest charging station. It has physical controls this time. I never thought I'd be so excited to see buttons on a console before, but if you've ever used the Hector system, it is frustrating that you have to go into the touchscreen for just about everything. Lo and behold, if I turn this knob, it adjusts the temperature. And if I do this one, it turns the fan up and down. And if I turn this one, it adjusts the media volume. So simple but so effective, and so much easier when you're on the move. Interestingly, it doesn't get auto climate control and instead only an electronically controlled manual AC. But that's but a small dent in its armor because it's rather well equipped. That touchscreen is just the tip of the iceberg. Apart from all its connected features, there is of course Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, a powered driver's seat, automatic headlamps and wipers, 6 airbags and more. And if you're seeing the conditions around me today, you'll be happy to know that it comes with a PM 2.5 pollution filter as well. It's got loads of space in the back. Thanks to its more conventional crossover size and shape, it has a usable amount of space in the back seat. And the sense of space is only improved by the massive panoramic sunroof, which has sort of become an MG party trick. It's even got a reasonably sized boot with a space-saver spare tire. But while practicality is all well and good, there's another thing that might attract you to the ZS EV. It is rather quick. Strictly speaking, when it comes to cars, I'm an old school kind of guy. I understand internal combustion engines and gearboxes. So this is all kind of new to me and also very exciting. It's taken me a little while to wrap my head around the terminology behind electric cars, but I'm getting there slowly. For instance, this car has a 44.5 kilowatt hour battery. The car produces the equivalent of about 143 horsepower and 350 Newton meters of torque, which for a car of this size is really a lot. To be fair though, at about 1600 kilos, this car weighs about 250 kg more than the heaviest Creta. So in that light, MG's claimed 0 to 100 kph sprint of 8.5 seconds is not too bad. The thing about electric motors though is that all that torque comes in instantly. The acceleration is shockingly quick. So at whatever speed you are running the electric motor at, you just have to touch the accelerator and it flies ahead. The difference is that surge of power doesn't last very long. After a while, it sort of flattens out. So it's kind of the opposite of an old school naturally aspirated internal combustion engine. There are driving modes, Eco, Normal and Sport, to help you prioritize range versus performance. But there's a more interesting selector switch on the center console. The second toggle switch is rather interesting because it says KERS. Now what that does is adjust the amount of regen you get every time you lift off the throttle. Now I like having it at its strongest setting, which is 3, but when you do that, each time you lift off the throttle, the retardation is so strong that I really wish the brake lights lit up. They don't. It rides and handles well. What also drastically affects the dynamics of this car is the fact that there's no engine weighing over the front wheels. The real weight comes from the battery pack, which is flat and sits along the floor of the car between the wheels. And that changes everything, really. For one, the car feels a whole lot more planted. The suspension on this one feels very, very well sorted, especially when you compare it to the MG Hector. While the Hector feels really bouncy and rolls around a lot in corners, this one feels just so tied down whether you're navigating a bumpy road or whether you're going around a corner. It can be charged easily. Select MG dealerships around the country will be equipped with DC fast chargers that can take your ZS EV from 0 to 80% charge in just under an hour. The remaining dealerships will get an AC fast charger that can top the car up in about 6 to 8 hours. One of these AC fast chargers will also be provided with the car to be installed in your home or office. And finally, the last resort is a standard slow charger. It takes 16 to 18 hours to charge the car, but it can be done at any 15 amp power socket. MG promises it will be hassle-free. MG is aware that much of the Indian public is still skeptical about electric vehicles and so has done well to try and reassure them. To that end, it has an ARAI rated range of 340 kilometers, although they say you can push 400 kilometers if you're careful. The battery is rated IP67 waterproof and there's a rather comprehensive 5 years unlimited kilometers warranty with 5 years roadside assistance. And in case none of the aforementioned charging options work out and the car dies on the road, a mobile charging van will come and charge the car enough to get you on your way again. While its long-term performance remains to be seen, on the face of it, the ZS EV seems to have just about everything you could ask for at the price. That price, incidentally, will be interesting because there will be two variants, both of which we expect to be priced very aggressively against the Hyundai Kona Electric. In fact, the lower variant could even drop below the 20 lakh mark. The biggest achievement of the MG ZS EV, however, is just how much like other crossovers of its size it feels. It has the right amount of space, practicality, ground clearance and equipment, and it even manages to be easy and relatively enjoyable to drive. EVs are not yet for everyone, but this is one that will help make the transition a whole lot easier.